Good morning, viewers. How are y'all? Question is, I question myself. Would I marry a Caucasian man? I question myself on that. And I say this, and sometimes I tell my brothers this. No, if Jesus was a man, a Caucasian man, I would have been married a Caucasian man. There's bad people in every race. And I don't want people to think I'm racist. I was raised never be racist. There's people in my family that have married outside of their race, that have married Caucasian women. Women are different than men. Women will more embrace than a man than men will. Men are more conservative. Women are nurturing. But the question is, would I marry a Caucasian man? If Jesus, Yeshua, was a Caucasian man, yes, I would have been married a Caucasian man. And another thing, I would not marry. I've never tried to marry outside of my race. A lot of people say, well, marry outside of your race. But, I was raised that charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. Charity begins, and my worst hurts have come from men of color. I remember at one time in my life, when my first marriage, I was married to Joseph Cephas Troy. I hated a black man because of the abuse and domestic abuse I went through. And I said, I want me a white man. But I went and drove trucks for FFE, and this white man gave me a rock. And I had a dream that white man killed me. And then I remember I was going to Mount Zion, MU Zion Church, and I prayed and I had asked God. And I seen it because I used to see I said, God, I used to just question God, question him when I first got saved. I used to just question him about anything. I just question him. That's how you're going to know if you question him. Then, by me reading the word and studying the Bible. And then by me knowing a pastor, just different preachers and pastors. I remember, I literally hated a black man. But I would ask God this: why do some black churches put these Caucasian Jesuses up on the door? Do they think it's going to bring prosperity, or what is it? I remember I told one of my brothers in Christ, because I was going to Mount Zion, MU Zion Church, and Zion is God's beloved. I said, before I ever come step my foot in Zion, I said, y'all need to bust all the windows out of that church, to tell you the truth. Even Billy Graham, I stay on Billy Graham because Billy Graham is real. I would have dreams of Billy Graham. Billy Graham was the most truthfulest preacher, and he strived to do the things that are right. The most truthfulest evangelist that I know. And he stated that Jesus, Yeshua, was a man of color. And God showed me in a dream he was a man of color. But how can we worship him in spirit and in truth, if we don't know the truth? What's going to happen? Racism is going to repeat itself. But in this season in my life, would I marry a Caucasian man? No. And I asked God, I said, God, some people say you need to step outside of your nationality. Now think about it. It was slavery in every race. But who held up under the beatings and the torture? People of color. Now, how bad Jesus got whipped? Do you think it was a Caucasian man? Billy Graham said it wasn't a Caucasian man. Billy Graham said it was a man of color. And I stand on Billy Graham. I'm going to tell you, I do. Because I used to have dreams of me and Billy Graham over there in Africa breaking masks where they serving other gods. So I love me some Billy Graham. Now, a race of people that think they're superior over every other race of people. It's not all Caucasian people, don't get me wrong. It's some. It's a majority. It's some. Maybe half and half. Because there are some Caucasian people that held the light and helped the slaves escape. There are some Caucasian people that stood up and defended for Black people because they know the truth. Caucasian people told me that Jesus was Black. I remember I kept a lady over in Bladensburg, and that's where they hung that gentleman years ago. Was a young guy. They hung by his belt on a swing. Do y'all remember that? Where they hung the Black guy because he was dating a white woman. And she would tell me, Kay would tell me, I know Jesus was a man of color. And if you look in Solomon, chapter 1, verses 5 through 17, Solomon is explaining himself. He said, if I am black and comely, I'm skipping over everything. But he said, my vineyard I did not keep. And it reminds me of us Black people. We'll support everybody else's business, but we don't even know how to love our own people. And it's in every race. I've talked to Caucasian people. They don't love each other like they're supposed to. I've talked to different race of people from my experiences. When I drove trucks, I met different people from different walks of life. Excuse me. But in this season in my life, no. I would not marry a Caucasian man in this season in my life. Unless God tell me to marry a Caucasian man. And I had to learn, there are good men of color that's out there. There are decent men that's out there. But what I think is, I feel sorry for the person who created the Willie Lynch letter. Because, as a spirit of leaders bring people together. True leaders bring people together. They bring people together. But I was raised, charity begins at home. And then it spreads abroad. And one bad incident, just like I said, I had to learn to love my Black men all over again. And somebody probably gonna take this video and a Black man gonna come to me and try to make me hate more Black men. Now that's how the devil works. That's how the devil works. Because I said I hated a Black man at one time, but I had to learn to love my Black men all over again. Because you know why? Because Jesus showed me that he was a man of color. I said, so there has to be a man of color out there that would treat me right. That would treat me like the queen that I am. And sometimes I watch these videos, interracial couples, how the Caucasian man will treat the Black woman. He treats her like the Black man should treat us. Maybe it's because some of our Black men have been put down. We hurt each other, and we really seriously need to stop. We seriously need to stop hurting each other. But a man will easily turn to another race. Our Black men will easily turn to turn to a white woman. But why? You need to learn to love us. I'm gonna keep it real. You need to learn to love us, because all people, there are not all Black women. All Black women are not about money. All Black women are not vindictive. And there's vindictive women in every race, just like there's bad men in every race, every nationality. And I had to learn that when I hated a Black man. I remember Timothy. I was going to play in tech. Timothy McCoy. He came to me, he said, Monica, every black man is not the same. And I had to learn to love my black men all over again, even though my worst hurts have come from my black men. But why, we're not children of Satan. All of us are not children of Satan. There's children of Satan and then there's children of God. We have to learn to love each other. Just like there's Spanish that put down Spanish. I've seen it. Some Spanish think they're better than others, but why? God made, and I look at people as a bouquet of flowers. That's how I look at people. I want to see people how God sees them. But as I said, how can we worship God in spirit and in truth when when we're not accepting the truth about how Jesus came on this earth, which was God in the flesh? He came as the lowest grade of people. Now, tell me how Jesus got whipped. Do you think a Caucasian man will hold up under them kind of beatings? Tell me the truth. Do you think? I don't think so. I remember my dad was working with a Caucasian man. His name was Jerry. He had a company. He started going through financial things, financial struggles, and he killed himself because he couldn't take it. I've never in my life, me reading or seeing a black person killing themselves because of financial struggles. I've never, I might, it was one young lady. I think it was in the newspaper. Yeah. Let me take that back. Lord, forgive me. I think, she was going through a lot of struggles. But Lord, God, I've lost so much. And I've gained and I've lost. But I know God will recover, restore. But I'm not going to kill myself with the help of God. With his help only. But let's be for real about it. Let's be for real. We want to be truthful. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. How can we worship God in spirit and in truth, and you still trying to portray a Caucasian man to be Jesus? Why won't you accept the truth? It's witchcraft when you don't accept the truth. It's rebellion. That's what it is. Oh, this God brought me this. I don't want to suffer through this because Jesus went through great trials and tribulations. Is that why? Because we're supposed to be followers of Christ. And the first thing these black churches will do is post a Caucasian Jesus up in their Sunday school. And knowing good and well he wasn't a Caucasian man. And I thank God for Billy Graham. I thank God for Billy Graham being a truthful man of God. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm a warrior in the spirit. If I was to marry a Caucasian man, I would have to fight all them racist demons. And if this man had a family or some of his people or his lineage had slaves, I would have to fight him. Because we're becoming one. I'm marrying his history and I'm marrying him. I'm marrying his history and I'm marrying him. Just like when I married Scott. I had to fight all Scott's demons. I had a dream I was driving Scott forward. And I was fighting all the female I was just fighting all his demons. I was ripping up women and all kind of stuff. I was just fighting his demons. And then things came to a cease. I remember things got better. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't think a Caucasian man would be strong enough for me. To tell you the truth. And I would not dare be, just like I said, I wouldn't want uh, a man that think that their race is superior over some over people. Just like I said, it's not all Caucasian people that think they're superior. There are Caucasian people that have been a blessing in my life. There are Caucasian people that have um, told me things about my history. There are Caucasian people that have told me that Jesus was of color. There were Caucasian people, just like I said, that helped us escape in slavery. And my motto is we have to love them like they didn't love us. I remember I was at a school and I said, I ain't got time for y'all racist. I was not raised to be racist. And the only thing I used to hear my grandma Louise say, when I used to go to places, they would say white only. Certain places, certain places to eat would say white only. Heaven is not sought upon white only. I might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but it's my preference who I would prefer to marry. And if Jesus, Yeshua, was a man of color, if Jesus, Yeshua, was a Caucasian man, I would have been married a Caucasian man. But Jesus, Yeshua, was a man of color. And he was from over there in them parts of Africa. I prayed and I asked God. I said, what color were you? And this is how he helped me to learn to love again my men of color, because he showed me that he was a man of color. And I said, Jesus, I said, if you was a man of color, I said, you have to show me how to love again. You have to show me how to love again my men of color. And just like I said, Timothy, when I seen him at Bladen Tech, Timothy McCoy, and he said, Monica, every black man is not the same. But how can I wouldn't marry in a race that colonizes people, hurt people, try to make like they're superior. There's, that Muslims say, what is it? Blue-eyed devils. But there's blue-eyed devils in every race. And I remember I was talking to a man. He was a black man, but I seen blue eyes in him. I said, they're black blue-eyed devils. But you know what Jesus told me to do? Jesus told me to love him. Show him what true love was. It was a lesson that he had to learn. But there's blue-eyed devils in every race. There's blue-eyed devils in Spanish. There's black blue-eyed devils. There's blue-eyed devils in every race. And those are demons that suppress their own people. Or demons that suppress, yeah. I know there's Spanish that put down other Spanish people. But yeah, there's blue-eyed devils in every race. From my experiences in life, driving trucks and the things that God has shown me. It ain't just one race. But back to the question, would I marry a Caucasian man? If Jesus was Caucasian, I would have been married a Caucasian man. And I don't want to be with some people that still think Jesus was that man with long hair. Just like I said, if I was a married Caucasian man, I'd probably be killing all his racist ancestors. But how I feel about it, if I don't have my nationality or my man down pat, just like I said, I was raised that charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. You have to be strong to be a black person, a person of color, because the things we face, we support, I notice, we embrace all cultures. I notice that as black people, we embrace other cultures. We support. Man, I used to tear that Mexican restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant when I stayed in Elizabethtown. I used to hit up the Mexican restaurant. My ex-husband Joe used to hit up the Chinese restaurant. But I love Chinese food. I love Mexican food. I've tried all different cultures of food. I got introduced to Chinese food when I was talking to Michael Rogers, which was my ex-boyfriend. I dated him in my teens. And that's how I got introduced to Chinese food. And I started loving Chinese food. I had an egg roll. You know, men in the military, men introduce you to other foods, you know? But we need to tear down these walls of hate. And just because I said I would not marry a Caucasian man, I've tried to imagine myself with him. But of course, just like I said, a Caucasian man is not strong enough for me. The stuff that God has brought me through, or a Caucasian man is not strong enough for me. And I looked at him, and even one of the teachers, I was working at a school, and teacher said, man, I'm not strong enough to do that. We, as African Americans, you know, it's people in every race that can take things. I reckon it's dependent on the person too. Lord, let me stop being biased. But I reckon it's dependent on a person, what the person can handle. If they have really, you know, when you have God, you know, all of you, he said he overcame the world. He overcame. So that's what we if he overcame, he said signs and wonders shall follow those, and you'll be able to do far more greater things than what I have done. So he said he overcame. If he overcame, we can overcome. We can overcome racism. We shall overcome. But we have to just be real and be honest. Just like I said before, I think I mentioned it in my other videos, when I was in Cumming, Georgia, a Caucasian woman shook my hand and she rubbed her hand on the fan. So I've experienced racism firsthand. And it could be one reason. That's another reason that I would not marry a Caucasian man. And a lady got in my car. She was a black woman. She was a woman of color. And she said she went and started talking to a Caucasian man. And he started being mean to her and saying little racist stuff to her. If my black man experienced what I've experienced, he'll understand me. He can relate to me more. He can relate to me more. And if Yeshua, was a Caucasian man, I don't think he would, from my experiences, from my experiences, let me repeat that. Caucasian people, from what I've seen, do not embrace all nationalities of people, from my experiences. If that was the case, the Caucasian woman that shook my hand in church would have never rubbed her hand on her pants because she thought I was dirty because of my complexion. But from my experiences, we as people of color we will embrace all nationalities of people. India, Chinese, Mexican, because we support their business. But do you think they'll think about us? That's greed. That's selfishness. Now, when me and my ex had our business, I thought about the people who supported our business and gave us money. I would pray for them. But I've never seen any other culture embrace people like we have, who support other businesses like we have. I haven't seen, just like I said, now I've seen Caucasian come in. Now it's students. Now students, yes. Students will go maybe to a Jamaican restaurant. I've seen students go, yes. But as a whole, the only race of people that I know who have embraced all colors of people, whether they're Chinese, Mexicans, no matter what color they are, I've seen us embrace all cultures of people without any racism. We love them, but they colonize us. They'll come in and they'll want us to be white. They'll want the black women to take and put relaxers in their hair. That's why God is trying to show you some of these relaxers. It's called as cancer. He wants us to be who we are and accept each other for who we are. I had an issue with my hair. I had an issue with my kinky hair at one time. But I remember Wendy McCoy was doing my hair and she said, Monica, you can't put relaxers in your hair. This was years ago. She said, you can't put relaxers in your hair. My scalp was bumping up. If I would have kept putting them relaxers in my hair, I probably would have had cancer. I'm embracing who I am. I've done ancestry.com and it says I have Nigerian, I have Congo, I have this. And I'm embracing who I am. I love my kinky hair. And it's bad that we had to go on a job. They passed a law that they couldn't discriminate against our hair. I embrace my kinky hair. I love my kinky hair. I'm different. I remember I used to tell the Caucasian sister, I used to tell them, I said, if you're going to talk to a black man, you better not be calling the cops on him. I used to tell Caucasian sisters that. You better not sit up and call the cops on them and have them locked up. I ain't never, with the help of God, called the cops on my men of color. They've called the cops on me. I remember my first marriage, he would call the cops and have me put in a mental hospital because I was going to church. I would take Quanda and I would leave just to get peace. I would take my daughter out of the house just to get peace. And I would leave. And he would call the cops. I remember one time I was going to Mount Zion. And I was finna leave to go to church. He said, "You not taking her to church." He called the sheriffs. Joseph called the sheriffs on me. All I wanted to do was go to church. Sometime I used to get on my bicycle and go. And remember, Alonzo Braggs was at Mount Zion, and I'd take the kid and go in there and lay on the altar so I wouldn't get in trouble. But yeah, just like I said, we are like a bouquet of flowers, but I want a man that have experienced the struggles that I've experienced. I want a man that understands my story and know what it is to face racism, knows what it is to be discriminated against. And I used to pick at my cousin, Tammy. I used to call her white girl. Me and Connie, we be together. I call her white girl. She talked like, she had like white girl. And I call her white girl. But yeah, I don't want to be white. I don't want to be Mexican. And if I marry a Mexican, I used to tell my brother Donald it'd be a darker one. That's what I tell him. If I marry outside of my race, it'd be a dark Chinese. Because there were dark Chinese, there were dark Indians, there were dark people in every race. I said it would be a dark one. Somebody who've experienced the struggles that I've experienced and can relate to me and think of it. And if you can't relate to a person, what can you do? Well, I don't think a man could help me if he couldn't relate to my struggles. He would just be a problem. They always say self-experience is a great teacher. And that's a true statement. Self-experience is a great teacher. But we need to learn to love. Love covers all. Love is the greatest gift of all. And I would not try to be, because Jesus didn't try to be superior. Just like I said, and I think about it. Would a Caucasian man go through the beatings? Could he handle the beatings? Just like I said, it was slavery in every race. Read that book, From Slavery to Freedom. I stated it before in one of my videos, From Slavery to Freedom. But we endured it the longest because we were the strongest people that could be beaten, and we were more productive. We were more productive. Our ancestors were more productive. I understand because some of my family, my ancestry going back was a family that was from slavery. My mom was telling me that. My mom had told me some things like that. Joanne. I don't know how true it is, but Joanne used to tell me the whole family would have family reunions at the plantations that they were enslaved at. I don't know how true it is what my mom told me, but that's what she told me. So question is, would I marry a Caucasian man? He couldn't relate to me like a man of color could. And that's why I would not. And he couldn't, he didn't deal with the things that my black man have dealt with. Even though I used to hate a black man, but as I said, when Jesus showed me that he was a man of color, Jesus took me in spiritual places to Jerusalem. I remember I had on a white wrap and a long gown, and I was pulling an old wagon. I remember when I had walking through Jerusalem. God have took me places spiritually. He took John places in the book of Revelation spiritually. That's how John wrote the book of Revelations, and I saw God took him to places spiritually. But we need to know the truth, and the truth will set us free. Let's be truthful. Solomon said, "For I was black and comely, and my own vineyard have I not kept." So we, first of all, as black men and black women, we need to learn to love each other and treat each other how God wants us to treat each other. And the Spanish need to learn to love each other and treat each other how God wants them to treat, no matter, because just like I said, there's some Spanish that are racism against each other. It's racism in every race. It's biases in every race. Look, this is what I want y'all to try to do. Look at people as a bouquet of flowers and learn to accept who you are. Just like I said, I learned to accept me, Monica, for who I am. I learned to embrace my kinky hair when years ago I had to stop putting relaxers in my hair. I don't want to be white. At one time I struggled with it because of what I faced. And I want to learn to love my men of color how God wants me to another way. Because even me, from my experience, even a black man walk different than any other race of man on this earth. They're different. They stand out. They're totally different. So, viewers, I just wanted to put that out there. Why I would not, at this season in my life, unless God told me to marry a Caucasian man. I'm not racist, but I just love a man of color. When I met Scott, his hands was all busted up. I said, he'll work. There's men in every race that won't work. There's men, and there's just, but I can't compare every black man to be the same. Just like my brother Tim told me when I was at Blaine Tech, Monica, you can't compare every black man to be the same. So my thing is, I want to embrace my man of color. So y'all have a blessed day. Y'all be safe. And let's keep it real. Let's be truthful.